Hi, I'm Susan Shaner, and your host tonight of Community Fourm. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Charlie Schott, who is the co-founder and director of the ARC Kids program in Danbury. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming. Now, tell us what the Kids program is about.
It's a volunteer program in the Danbury schools, now in the elementary schools. And volunteers spend 2+ hours a week in the classroom working with the teacher and the students.
So what are some of the things that the volunteers would get involved in?
A lot of small group and one-on-one help with reading, math, work with their various projects in the classroom.
Now, I know you're the co-founder and director of this program that's sponsored by ARC, the Association for Religious Communities. Right. But tell us a little bit about how this evolved, because you started yourself another program, right?
That is true. In 2010, my wife retired, sold her business, and we wanted to do some volunteering together. And we wanted to do it with kids. We know the principal of the Morris Street School in Danbury. And we talked to him and said, could one of your teachers use a couple of volunteers?
Yeah.
And he put the word out, and the first person to raise her hand was a kindergarten teacher. And he said, why don't you come and give it a try? We did. I'm a math science guy, and I really wanted to work with the older kids and math and science. But I said, I'll start in kindergarten.
Yeah.
I was in there 2 weeks, and I said, I'm going nowhere.
Really?
I mean, these kids are wonderful.
So you didn't get too much in the math and science?
But these kids are little intellectual sponges. There's no social filters.
Yeah. You know where you stand, right?
You know where you stand. They're just, it's a great age to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, most of our grandkids have been through that age, and
yeah. Can you share like a story of something that was just endearing or fun or?
Well, satisfying. We can't walk down the hall without getting hugs.
Oh.
This is the first year that we've had kids in every one of the grades, from kindergarten through 5th grade. This is the
right, because you've been doing
program.
it now. Okay.
And so there are several kids. I mean, we really got to know very well, better than some of our own grandkids, frankly.
Really?
Who are across the country. And so we think of them as our local grandkids.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, it's great for them. It's great for you. So do you do like story time? Do you read there, or what?
Do a lot of reading, have them read to us. Sometimes play music for them. And
because you're a musician, I know that.
Right. And we brought other musicians in to play. And we do some after-school programs, art and
so you
music.
spend more than 2 hours a week there now?
Yeah, I do. I spend almost all of Thursday myself. But it's very rewarding. I think the second year we were there was a young boy named Joel. No English, no letters, no numbers.
Okay.
Kindergarten. At the end of kindergarten, after a lot of help from the teachers and a number of volunteers, reading and writing stories, paragraphs in English.
Oh, wow.
End of kindergarten.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. Now, Joel was obviously a very bright young boy, but they're story after story. And of course, that's the most gratifying part of it, to see that progress from coming in, the challenges of socializing, out of the home environment, and with a very aggressive curriculum these days for kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. So I'm curious, for yourself, you said, okay, I thought I was going to work with the older kids, math and science. Were you really surprised at how you sort of got sucked in there in a good way?
I was, and I was delighted.
You're like, wow, this is fun, actually.
It was fun.
So forget all that math and science.
I will tell you, and most of our volunteers say, it's one of the best things I do all week long.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. So you started at Moore Street School with your wife, Lori, right?
Right.
And you're both still, is she still
Yep.
volunteering too? But then you expanded it. So talk a little bit about how you expanded it.
Well, the two of us did it, starting in the fall of 2010. And it was so rewarding to us, we said, let's see if we can get a few more.
Yeah.
So we went to folks in our congregation. We go to the UU congregation on Clabbered Hill, Clabbered Ridge Road. And we ended up getting 16 volunteers, including the two of us, to start in the fall of...
I didn't know you had that many.
Yep,
16 from the congregation?
Yeah, in
Holy
September 2011. And it was great. And everybody loved it. And we did that for a couple years.
Now, did you manage the volunteers? Was that was your job to kind of get everybody placed in what classrooms and?
Yeah, we identified a liaison in the school, and that's a pattern we have carried forward to the present, having a school liaison.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
a volunteer liaison working together. Between the two of us, we just evolved what the program was and what it was going to be and how we would assign it. And as volunteers and teachers got to know one another, the amount of things that the volunteers could do and their skill level, went up. So
Because so it sounds like, I was going to ask you how you recruit volunteers, but it sounds like you didn't have to do much other than get the word out. It happened. So do you have a lot of volunteers who are retired teachers?
high percentage. It's somewhere between 25 and a third of all of our volunteers in the kids program.
So it must be, I mean, rewarding for them. Obviously, they like teaching, but they don't have to be fully responsible like they were for most of their career.
They love being with the kids and not having to do the paperwork.
Give them back, right? It's just like grandparents. Day with the kids, give them back.
Right, right. You asked how we got from one to the other.
Yeah.
We said this ought to be bigger than one school and bigger than one group, one civic group or congregation. So I went to that wonderful organization in our greater urban area, ARC, the Association for Religious Communities, that does so much good work in the community. And I met with the director, P.J. Leopold, and said, we've got this great program. We ought to be doing it in more schools. And she and I met with the deputy superintendent, Dr. Bill Glass, and proposed that we do that. We went from a very ad hoc situation with Morris Street into really becoming an authorized program under the school district. We worked with Mary Gregory, who's head of the DS ABC program, Danbury Schools and Business Collaborative. She was very helpful in setting up the vetting procedure, and so we went through that, and we started a couple years ago, and we had a big luncheon. Our local paper was kind enough to do a very nice article.
Yeah.
And that's really how we got the majority of the volunteers.
Really? From the publicity through that initiative?
Yes.
And did you get anybody from the article in the paper?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Huge number.
So you're at Moore Street School. What are the other schools?
Ellsworth Avenue and South Street.
So all the elementary schools in Danbury. Is that all of them?
No, there's 13 altogether.
I didn't realize there was that many.
But there's a subset that the Title I schools,
Okay.
which are the economically disadvantaged.
So you targeted those.
Yes, the school district thought that that would be the place to start because they are in most need of the help and assistance of the volunteers.
Yeah, now I know now you have, you said 36 volunteers?
Yeah, almost 40 now. We had a new one last week. And this was a reference, friend of an existing volunteer who lives, I believe, in Southbury. And guess what? Was a former teacher in Danbury.
Wow, so you more than doubled in that time frame.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah.
So so you and PJ now are your co-founders of the BARDA program.
Co-founder, she actually has one of her staff people,
Okay.
Elke Sweeney, who has part-time coordination responsibility for the program.
Because it's becoming quite a big program, and you're the director now.
Right.
So you are overseeing all the volunteers?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And what we did, my liaison at Morris Street, Melissa Gabriel, outstanding young lady and just a great teacher, we really took the 3 or 4 years of experience at the time we did this and put together a whole primer for not only the volunteers, but for the teachers who have volunteers.
So it's a little training program.
Right, best practices, what we've learned, what to do, what to avoid.
This is a great model. I mean, it's a win-win. It's for the kids, for the teachers, for retired folks who want to be engaged in the community and want to feel like they're still have something of meaning and value to contribute. They're still vital to be connected. So you've expanded to the greater Danbury area. I mean, I'm wondering if there's opportunities to even expand the model even further.
Well, I've talked with Barbara Fast, and we've thought that an additional channel would be to do it through, our denomination or other denominations, because clearly congregations, mosques, temples, churches, etc., are often a good source of volunteers, socially minded volunteers.
Yeah.
So,
so you're
that clearly is another channel.
Yeah.
We are talking about that.
Even in terms of offering it as a model for different school systems. So are all of your volunteers retired, or do you have some, I don't know, what would other be population groups, like stay-at-home moms? Or
There's some stay-at-home moms. There's some people with flex time hours. But I'd say 90%, 85-90% are retired.
Yeah. People have time on their hands.
Right.
Well, corporations do give, some corporations do give their employees time for volunteer work, but, a lot of the load's heavy these days.
That's true. That's true. I should mention that because of the volunteer program, IBM, and I'm a retiree from IBM.
Yeah. We share that in common. Former
that's
IBMers.
True. That's right. That's right. And they have donated so far $13,000 to Morris Street.
Fabulous. And do we know what that went towards?
Oh, a phenomenal number of programs that they just could not afford on their own. And teachers, spend their first paycheck every fall, painting and cleaning up, and throughout the year dipping into their own pocket for so many things. But we started after school programs, but musical risers, for the concert. The list as long as.
So were you instrumental in that too, in trying to get the IBM funding?
Yes.
That's fantastic, because I know for a period of time IBM did have their whole charter for any kind of donations or community involvement. They were really focused just on K through 12 education. I don't know if that agenda has shifted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little broader than that, but education is very, very central to their community grant program.
Right. So what's been the most satisfying thing or aspect of this experience for you and for the community, would you say?
Well, for me personally, it's just the joy of interacting with these kids. And I mean, form great attachments with most of them, and to see their progress in the first year.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then to see them, through the other grades. From a broader perspective, to see all the other volunteers having the same experience and satisfaction with what they do, and seeing their students
it really builds on itself and grows, doesn't it?
It does.
In terms of just the collective excitement, and it sounds like just satisfaction, and just it's mutual for everybody.
It is, and what happened at Morris Street, we wanted to happen with the other schools, and it's happening where the volunteers have a real identity and relationship with the school. So they come and volunteer at school fairs or ice cream socials.
Oh, wow. So this is like their adopted school now.
You got it.
As if like when they had kids in school, when you do
Yes.
everything, you're on the PTA,
Yep.
Now this is their school.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And-
So what have been the challenging aspects of this?
Well, getting additional volunteers.
Okay, so how are you, so it sounds like early on Charlie, you make this all sound so easy. You're like, yeah, we thought we'd do this, it was great, we talked, and then I got 16 people, now we're 36 people. It sounds like, wow, it all just happened so easily. But no, not really.
Not really.
You worked hard.
I talked to PJ.
Yeah.
We decided we should run it by their board. So I presented to their board, and they were actually very enthusiastic. It's not in the mainstream, but certainly under the umbrella of their overall mission. And then we went to the school district, and Dr. Bill Glass is wonderful man, and he made that happen from their end, and was very helpful with his guidance, and just going through the vetting program, getting a lot of the initial components.
Well, that's an
set
interesting
up.
point. So how do you screen volunteers? I mean, I'm assuming you don't just take anybody. I mean, you have to
That
do
is true.
background checks. And,
That's right. There is a
Yeah.
vetting program that the DSABC program uses, and we use the same one. It's approved by the school district, and that was kind of a natural. So we do that, and it was really going from Morris Street to kids was doing the documentation and the guides and what have you, and just getting the mechanics of the program ready. And now it pretty much runs by itself. We took the model of having a strong school liaison in each one of the schools, and
So take me through the process a little bit. So let's say somebody's watching this show,
right.
and they're like, wow, I would really be interested in that. So if they were to contact you, what would the process be? Like, would you give them an overview of what's entailed, do a background check? Like, what's the process for somebody to
What
get
I've done for a number of people over the last few months that are interested, I'll send them the volunteer guide, which gives them a good idea, sets the expectation of what they would be doing. And they send in 2 one-page documents. One is the application, basically the vetting information, and the other one we call a profile. What days would you be free to do it? Why are you interested in the program? And a little bit of personal information.
So, so somebody doesn't have to be a retired teacher. They don't have to be
No,
an
not at
educator
all.
necessarily.
They do
they
not.
have to have an interest and like kids, obviously.
Yeah,
that's a requirement.
That would be good. That would be good.
Right.
And of course, that's a plus. There's
Yeah.
so many things going on now with seniors and young kids,
Yes.
and it's a wonderful.
It is. It's a wonderful thing.
interaction.
I mean, I saw something where they were having a nursery school in a retirement home, and I thought, how great is that for everybody?
Yeah, it's another win-win.
Another win-win. So, so when I asked you what were the greatest challenges, I didn't really hear a lot, Charlie. I mean, you said, yeah, we had to get it all set up and stuff, but it doesn't really sound like you just make it all sound so easy.
Well, it's certainly all
It's a
very
passion
rewarding
for you.
and
It's
fun.
It's a passion for you.
Yeah.
So, so what's your hope for this program?
That we would expand it, and not just in Danbury, but in some other school districts as well.
So you said you're coming up on 40 volunteers in Danbury, and so is there a point at which you thought about what would where would we reach capacity even in Danbury?
Well, we can expand the scope of the program. Right now, we're
The 3 schools.
yeah, and just elementary schools and largely in kindergarten because you're trying to build that strong foundation.
Yeah.
But we're starting to expand into other grades.
Maybe you'll get that high school math and science yet.
Well, that's possible. And there are additional Title I schools in Danbury that we would like to fill. There's a few more on Dr. Glass's list. That,
You know what? I'm curious. So, have there been any studies, or do they have a sense from like a metrics perspective, in terms of the children's achievement and the outcomes? With you're giving this added fortification and support for the children. So, do they have any metrics around how much this has benefited? Other than the anecdotal, it's everybody loves it stories.
you know, there are some very interesting quantitative data from Morris Street. Now, the volunteers can't take much of the credit for it, but
Yeah.
it's been called the Morris Street miracle.
Really?
They are the economically poorest of all of the schools in Danbury.
Okay, did not know that.
And they're constantly in the top 20% achievement. And that's with half the children being ESL kids, English second language.
Is that shifted in the last 4 or 5 years since your program's been in there?
It started before that, and I think we have certainly helped with that.
Yeah.
But it's really to the credit of the principal and the teachers there that have just
Well, yeah, absolutely.
such a wonderful job.
The teachers and the principal, of course, are like the core foundation. I'm just wondering, it can't hurt any to have extra support and help in the classroom.
Well, it's a great message to the teachers that all these people think what they do is important enough that they want to come and help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what advice would you give someone, let's say, who's maybe in another part of the country that might see this, who wanted to start a similar program? I mean, you've started this from scratch.
I'd say contact us through our kids' email, and we'd love to talk to them.
So you're looking to expand this beyond more schools in the Danbury area. You also said maybe beyond Danbury.
Yeah, definitely.
And which means that you really want to get a lot more volunteers.
We've developed, and you said the word before, well, this really is a good model. This is a good template for this sort of program. And we've learned in putting it together and doing it for a few years.
And you've taken it from, as you said, this ad hoc approach. You've codified it, you've structured it, you've created training, templates, guides. And you want to really grow it. What's your sense of how to scale it? I mean, do you anticipate any challenges with just scaling it in terms of, right now you have 40 volunteers. Like, what if you had 400 volunteers or 4,000 volunteers?
Of course, we need the schools for them to go to.
Right.
But this is not a top-down program.
Yeah.
It is to get it started, but what we want to achieve is that relationship and bonding between the volunteers and the teachers.
Yeah.
You know, and their liaison.
Yeah.
And just as you said, this is their school. So that's where it happens, and we don't go in and try and control it or tweak it.
Right.
We
You know the
wanna
process.
Set the conditions,
Yeah.
get the people together, and it should happen organically.
You know what I thought? Maybe we have you come on again, and it would be really cool to have a teacher and a volunteer, and maybe even a principal on to talk about,
That'd be great.
how what everybody's experience is.
Yeah, that would be illuminating, I think.
I mean, so what's your, I mean, your face lights up when you talk about the kids and just how great it is. And what's your experience been with the relationships with the teachers?
Oh, the best.
I mean, they must be so, I would think, so appreciative to have this extra help.
They are. They are. And you form, you know, a real friendship with them. I mean, we were with the same kindergarten teacher for 5 years. She retired last year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's all about relationships, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, it is. So now you're on to a new kindergarten teacher, right?
Right. Actually, I'm now in the liaison that I've worked with for 6 years. She's a kindergarten teacher. I was not in her class before, but I am now, so that's great.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. And also you said that your earliest students are now in 5th grade, right?
They are.
You sound like a proud grandpa almost, right?
I tell you, they're our local grandkids.
Oh, I mean, you're like watching these kids grow up, and how great is it for them too? Because you probably have some kids that don't have grandparents or don't have grandparents close by too.
That's true.
I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, sometimes there's a parent, a father still, you know, back in some other country. And
so, thank you so much, Charlie. So if somebody was interested and they wanted to contact you, can you give the email?
It's at kids at Arc for Peace, that's ARC for peace.com.
So spelled out F-O-R, A-R-C,
F-O-R-P P-E-A-C-E.
I just wanted to make sure, just in case, like the
Right.
number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so ARC for Peace.
Kids
at Arc for Peace.
Kids at Arc for Peace.
.org. Okay.
.org.
So if anybody had any questions or if they're interested in volunteering, following up in any way, they should just go to that email.
Absolutely.
And either you or one of your colleagues at ARC will be monitoring it.
We will.
Okay. Charlie, thank you so much for coming on the show, for everything you do really to help the future generation. It's amazing.
Well, thanks for letting us get the story out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm Susan Shaner, your host of Community Fourm. Until next time, thank you for joining us.